Yo, what is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to episode 29 of my Tracksuit to the Top series here with Lewis FC in the Sky Bet League 2. Hopefully you guys are good. Today I've got for you guys a live com against Mansfield Town in the league, but first and foremost we've got to cover our fixtures and results. So let's get straight into them, shall we? So last episode, if you missed it, it was a live com against Barnet. Since then we've played a decent amount of games. We've played 9 in total, 7 in the league, 2 in cup competitions. I'll start by just talking about the cup competitions. First one, Capital One Cup. We actually got knocked out by Millwall. We were actually 1-0 up at half time. Perhaps a little bit disappointing to lose 2-1 considering we were in the league, or rather in the lead. But realistically, Millwall, they are a League One side. Zidane's their manager, which is a little bit bizarre. But as I said, they're a League One team. They got relegated last year, so they're a very good team. So to only lose to them 2-1 is not a result to feel too ashamed of. And then the other result was in the Johnson's Paint Trophy, where we lost to Colchester, another team who they've not done that well in League One lately, really, but they're a League One team. You know, they play in the league above us, so it was never going to be easy, and they did beat us in this game. So that's a little bit about the cup competitions. Perhaps a little bit disappointing to get knocked out of them, but it gives me time to focus on the league. And speaking of the league, things are looking pretty rosy on that front. So the first result that we got following on from the Barnet game last episode was against Torquay. As you can see here, a great win. We won 3-2. Alex Samuel getting the winning goal. More about him shortly, but good to see Hesketh and Isaac Hayden get goals for us. Hesketh has played really well so far this year. He's got 2 goals in 8 games, but he's performed pretty well. A lot of the times coming on off the bench, and he has got us in a few important goals off the bench. So he's been a very good player. And then also Lewis Thompson here. I believe he got 2 assists in this game, this guy. Obviously the Welsh under-21 international joined us on a free transfer, having been released by Norwich. And looking at it here, you can see he's performed very well. He's got a 7.22 average rating from 6 games. He's been a really good player in the centre of the midfield. Obviously he's come in, he's the club's new captain, and he is leading by example on that front. Anyway, the next result was actually a really unfortunate result, which might sound a little bit bizarre considering the scoreline says 5-2, but I do honestly feel like this was just one of those games where you get unlucky. As you can see looking at the stats, it was a very close game. Notts County only had 3 clear-cut chances, but they buried 5 kind of shots on goal and 1. But we had 8 clear-cut chances and buried 2. It was just a bit of a lack of clinicalness, I guess, from us. Perhaps a little bit disappointed by a few players. Alex Samuel again with 2 goals, but I will say more about him in a second, because following on from this, we did then beat Wycombe. That was a good result. Wycombe, of course, getting promoted with us last year. You can see Ben Bacon getting the Man of the Match award. Obviously a player's been at the club for quite some time now, Ben Bacon, and he's made the step up to this division quite nicely. In 6 games he's got 2 assists and a goal, 2 goals and an assist. And you can see there his average rating of 7.38 is pretty darn impressive, especially considering 2 appearances have come on off the bench. So anyway, we're on to the next game, and this is now where I am going to talk about Alex Samuel, because we beat Cambridge 6-0. Mad result. It was 5-0 at half time. We are going to watch the highlights of this game, because Alex Samuel, he got 4, and it was just a really impressive performance by him. He was so clinical. He took the opportunities that came his way, and yeah, it was a very comprehensive performance by our team. This was a game against Cambridge, who were 3rd in the league, so it wasn't an easy game. But I mean, as you can see here, we performed really well, and this was a good win. They were 3rd in the league, I believe, at the time of this game being played. So to beat them in the manner we did was really impressive. Barker there with a really nice finish, and then from kind of the 4th minute onwards, it became the Samuel show, as he grabbed a hat-trick in just under 25 minutes. Which is ridiculous, obviously playing the lone striker role, but he's done very well, Samuel. He's held up the ball well and got a decent amount of assists, but his finishing has been the most impressive thing about him. You can see here, this was a really good finish from outside of the box, just tucked it away really well. And then from here, obviously, he went on to get another 3 goals, which was crazy. And so far this year, he has, I believe, 10 goals, I want to say, in all competitions. Which is, it might even be more than that now, it might be 12. But yeah, it was rather ridiculous. I did just want to show the goals. Here we go, sorted. Right, so, yeah, as I was saying, his goal scoring record's been ridiculous. It's actually really worrying in some ways, the fact that he scored, I believe, in double figures already. But our next top goal scorer has only scored 2. and he's also top on the assist front. We're becoming very reliant on him, and obviously that's fine as long as he keeps performing. So yeah, we've got to keep hoping, I guess, that he maintains this level of performance. A lot of the goals and stuff that came in this game were actually goals on the break, and kind of not necessarily hitting Cambridge fast, but just kind of playing fairly direct football. Sometimes they were committing a few men up the field. I guess they were perhaps underestimating us a little bit with us being a newly promoted side, but we were happy to capitalise on that. You can see here Samuel, integral part of the build-up play, doing a good job of just slowing down the play in the final third, and then the ball finds its way to him and he tucks it in there really nicely for his hat-trick. And as I mentioned, he did get a fourth goal, which came here in the 40th minute, and it was another really nice finish, to be honest, and that was a very impressive performance by him to get that win and get us the win 6-0. The next game we got was another clean sheet, and this one was against Port Vale. Alex Samuel again grabbing 2, making the difference for us. Kept a clean sheet, which was nice, and as you can see here, Sam Magri missed a penalty. Craig Mullen in goal, making the save there, retaining his first choice kind of position in the side and showing why he's such a key part of our defence. Anyway, just 2 more games to tell you guys about. The first one was against Southend. It was a 3-3 draw. We conceded really late on, which was bitterly disappointing, but to be fair, a draw on the kind of upon reflection was probably about right. You can see looking at it, the game was 50-50. Both teams had plenty of chances, and it was an exciting game to watch, if nothing else. And then finally, we beat Luton 2-1 at home. Luton, of course, a team who not too long ago were in the Vanarama Conference, the division that we were in. If we look at their league position history, you can see they've been a mid-table team for the last few years. And so to beat them 2-1 was pretty decent because they were kind of 7th in the league at the time. And as you can see here, Sweeney getting the Man of the Match award, which is really, really good. So anyway, that's kind of what's happened in terms of the fixtures. In terms of where that sees us lie in the table, you can see here, looking at the League 2 table, we're actually top of the league, and we're top of the league. We've scored the most goals. Our defensive record isn't actually the best, which is slightly concerning, but I guess it's entertaining for the fans. But what we are doing is we're getting plenty of wins. Looking at the player stats, you can see Alex Samuel, 5 assists, 11 goals, a 7.9 average rating in 8 games. He's just been ridiculous. He's been a completely different player to what he had been at other clubs. He went on loan to Burton last year and didn't perform great. The year before that was on loan at Crewe. These are all League One teams, obviously, but he was never really playing in a great side, and he's certainly improved here. You can see, looking at my coach's report, my coach now thinks he's a leading Championship player. Not so sure I agree with that, but he does think he might be inconsistent, which is something worth kind of keeping an eye on, but who knows. I'm hoping the assistant's wrong, because really, he hasn't improved that much, and to me, he probably is a Championship striker, but I don't know. He might be a Championship striker, but he doesn't strike me as a leading Championship striker. But anyway, there are a few other transfer news bits and bobs to tell you guys about, so I guess we'll continue on with that. First things first, I brought in a few more players from Africa, both Mozambiqueans. We've got here Mondlane. He's turned out to be terrible, so the risk did not pay off there. And Manjat, again, not too great. Gamble really hasn't paid off in bringing in those 2 players. However, 2 free transfers who certainly do add something to the team. The first one here is Niall Keown. This guy's just a really useful player. He's a very good fullback, but he's also capable of playing left back and right back. I touched upon last episode how the fullback position was a little bit of a position that I didn't have too much strength in. Keown just kind of adds some nice coverage in that position, but also some strength in depth. Gives me options to rotate fullbacks if certain players aren't performing. If players get injured, we've got more than capable backup, so that's nice. The last player we brought in was Cameron Stewart, who, of course, I believe played for Ipswich. Yeah, Ipswich he played for. I'm not sure. I assume that's where he is at real life at the moment. But obviously released by Leeds. Oh, not Leeds, sorry, released by Hull, having gone on loan to Leeds for a year in the Championship. You can see he's had a few years in the Championship. With Ipswich, they never really gave him a chance. And he's come to us on a free transfer, and he's got a goal and an assist already, which is really impressive. The 26-year-old, he's not really young, but what he does have is really good pace and some nice kind of technical stats at this level. You can see here, good player for most League One sides. He's on very low wages as well, of £1,800, so that's nice. In other news, I managed to ask the board for a larger wage budget, more jokingly than anything, and they've increased my wage budget to £55,000 a week. There's no way I'm going to spend anywhere near that just because I have to keep a close eye on the finances. But it's nice to have that if I do want to dip in. If an incredible player was to come up, there is some money there to perhaps invest in them. In other news, if we look here, you can see right now that our training facilities and youth facilities are being upgraded. They're going to be finished in about 2 months' time, which is really nice. Good to see that progressing on. Again, our youth training facilities, I believe this is, are improving, which is good. I think that might be our youth level. I think there is definitely a difference between these two facilities, but I'm not sure what it is. And you can see here as well, the stadium's currently being expanded. I didn't talk about this last episode, but it is kind of significance. And the reason it's of significance is because we've had to move out of our own ground temporarily. As you can see here, we were playing at the Broadway Stadium, which I believe is Crawley Stadium. But the reason for that was the fact that we are in the progress of renovating our own stadium. With us moving into the Football League, we had to redo up the dripping pan. Fortunately, the sales of obviously Robinson and Lewis have left me with some really healthy finances, so to essentially add 3,450 seats to an all-standing stadium with the exception of a handful of seats in one terrace is really good news, and it's going to leave us with a nice stadium. As you can see here, it's going to add a decent amount of seated seats, and it's going to be good. It's going to be good. It's going to hold 4,000 people when we get there. Right now, our attendances have been on a tad on the low side. Our season tickets did double, but we are pretty much setting every record for every league competition for lowest attendance. I think that's partially because we're not playing in our own stadium, but also obviously just because of our club's small stature. We're not the biggest club, so we can't expect to have hordes of fans turning up. But anyway, that's a bit about what's been going on at the club. So nice to get the facilities being upgraded again. If we just have a quick look on the facilities screen, you can see here we have basic junior coaching and basic youth recruitment. Obviously below average training facilities and basic youth facilities, both of which are being upgraded, which is nice. Things are looking pretty rosy. I'm trying to invest in the future as well as kind of in the now and present by signing lots of players. Obviously, really, I've not actually spent that much money on this save. This year we spent £44,000 on transfers, getting in Jordan Jones, who may well move on just because he's unhappy at the lack of first team football. But I mean, you can see here, we've made some good money in our transfers over the last few years, and I'm now trying to reinvest essentially £5 million, which we have at our disposal, back into the club, and I think the facilities is the best way to go about doing that. So anyway, I think that wraps things up in terms of what's been going on at the club. Obviously, the wage budget's nice. I haven't covered my coaching in a while. I did add some new coaches this year, but really I haven't made any massive improvements. You can see the overall coaching here. You can see that we have average and light workloads on all the coaches, which is nice. And we've got nice coverage. We have fairly decent quality coaching in all the key areas. For a team of our level. If we look at the overview of our coaching, you can see there's only 3 players who are unhappy with the current coaching, and they're just unhappy with the individual training they've been put on. A few of them I have actually changed just recently. But you can see, all in all, we've got a good squad. A few players lacking match fitness, but that's kind of to be expected because we have such a big squad. But yeah, that's that. Right now we've been training team cohesion, I believe, but I probably want to change that to fitness if I haven't already. I'm wondering, I'm going to change that to fitness, and the reason I'm going to change it to fitness is just because in this league we've got a lot of, actually we've not got that many midweek games coming up, so I might change it to defensive. I'm going to play defensive just because, as I mentioned, the defensive area has been something that we've perhaps been a little bit lacking in, so we'll do that. But as I mentioned, all in all, things are going well. I have got all my individual coaching set up, and as you can see, it's serving players very well. Ben Bacon really reaping the rewards of his individual focus at the moment, which is nice, and obviously playing lots of football, which is good for his development. But yeah, I think that's everything. We'll just have a quick look at the top performers so far this season. The obvious one is Alex Samuel, of course, who I've already kind of ranted about and said he's incredible. He is incredible. Ben Bacon as well, playing well. Lewis Thompson, I already kind of touched upon him doing very well. He's had a good start so far to the year. Borthwick Jackson at centre-back has played really, really well. You can see here, average rating of 7.24 is really good for him. And then his defensive partner in Pierce Sweeney has also performed really well with a 7.11. So that gives you an idea of perhaps how our team's getting on in terms of the average performances. As I mentioned before, we are kind of relying on Alex Samuel a lot for not only goals but also assists. I'm hoping some other players might kind of be able to step up to the mark and really chip in there. But yeah, things aren't too bad. So let's get into today's game. It is against Mansfield. As I mentioned, we're top of the league, but Mansfield do have a game in hand and are 1 point behind us. So this is a fairly big game, but I've already sorted out my squad. I'm happy with the starting 11 we have. Hopefully we can get a good kind of result here and, you know, give ourselves a lead at the top. Because obviously right now we are ahead of Mansfield, but if they were to win their game in hand, they'd leapfrog us essentially. So this game does bear some significance in terms of if we win it, we can kind of ignore the fact that they have a game in hand because we would still retain the top spot even if they were to win it. But yeah, things aren't going too bad. Things are going pretty decent. Samuel's obviously hit the ground running, which has been fantastic. Borthwick Jackson, come on, let's score from a set piece, boys. Thompson, what a goal, my son. 1-0. Lewis Thompson, that's his first goal of the season, his first goal for the club. Really nice assist there as well by Barker from the corner. Obviously, the initial ball didn't make its way into the danger area. Borthwick Jackson just intelligently laying it off. Ball comes back in. Thompson, chest, half volley, take a bow. Nice little finish there by him. But yeah, so far so good this year. I mentioned last episode I felt like we really did have the quality to get promoted. I stand by that statement. Obviously it'd be nice to see a few other players chip in the final third to help Samuel on, because obviously we can't rely on him for goals for the entire season. You know, other players do have to at least chip in with their own contribution. Granted, as a lone forward you perhaps expect him to get, you know, the most goals by a margin of sorts. But you know, we're playing well. The players who I've brought in have certainly performed, particularly at centre-back. You know, Borthwick Jackson and Pierce Sweeney have both, you know, been massive in our defensive campaign. They've been absolute rocks. Lewis Thompson's looking like an inspired signing in the centre-mid area, and then you've got players like Cameron Stewart and Brandon Barker, I haven't really talked about, but the former Manchester City player really has performed well. But anyway, it looks like it's going to be 1-0 at half-time, which, you know what, I'm fairly happy with. I'm going to tell the players I'm pleased with how it's going. It could be going better, but, you know, we are ultimately beating a team third in League 2 and a team who I'm not really sure where they were predicted to finish, but certainly off the first kind of 7 or 8 games, you know, they're right up there. So, you know, they have got some credentials and they have proven themselves to an extent that they are a team capable of perhaps challenging for the promotion spots and potentially for the title. But anyway, we've got another set piece here. Hesketh, Samuel, Barker, Hesketh, Stewart. Nice goal. Nice goal. Cameron Stewart with his second goal for the club. Second league goal, and that's only in his 5th game. And he's looking like a nice little free transfer. A player who I was surprised didn't get snapped up sooner. He was one of the few players, obviously, who I've brought in since the last episode. The reason I brought him in was just because he had so much quality about him and I wanted to give him a chance, and he's repaying that kind of faith in him, I guess, so far, the 26-year-old. And he's looking like a really nice signing for us because he's got a few goals and another one today. But anyway, looking at the fitness, we've got a few players perhaps struggling a little bit. I'm going to bring on Shabola. I haven't really talked about Shabola much. I will try and remember to talk about him at the end of this episode and just talk about kind of what's been going on at the club with regards to him, because he has been unhappy. He was actually unhappy with the selling of Joe Robinson, of course, our young winger who we sold for £2.2 million. Apparently he thought it was a bad move. I basically told him, don't be silly, and he got upset and wanted to leave. So I've kind of been dropping him a little bit because his morale's not great. He's not been performing superbly. Obviously we have other midfielders in good form, and I'm not going to take nonsense from a player, basically. So yeah, that's the reason that he's on the bench, despite being perhaps one of our best players. But we've not missed him. I mean, here, as you can see, I'm bringing him on just because he is a good option to have off the bench. But you can see, we're beating the team in third 3-0. And really, this team could have potentially gone above us, but we're just outperforming them here. Samuel's through. Stewart with the rebound. He makes it 4. And this is just another ridiculous performance. And this is kind of what we've been doing so far this year. We've been steamrolling some teams. Obviously, we did it against Cambridge, who were near the top of the table and won 6-0 away from home. And right here, against Mansfield, we're 4-0 up. You have to look at the actual stats, and we've been by far and away the better team, which is really pleasing to be able to say. But anyway, we will make just a few changes just because, you know, we might as well save some legs and ensure some of our players who perhaps aren't at 100% condition and are dipping below the 70 mark come off. You know, give them a rest. There's no point in playing them for the last 10 minutes and risking them potentially getting an injury. But all in all, a very, very good comprehensive performance here. Some really nice finishing on display. You know, we've taken the chances that have come our way, but you look at the stats, we've defended well, we've attacked well, certainly. That's kind of reflected by the fact we've scored 4. And just another great performance against a team right up there in the league. And Samuel had a chance to make it 5 and fluffed it. Fortunately, it's not going to matter too much. It was a good save, to be fair. Thompson almost got his second of the game there, but Parrish in goal holds firm. But I think that's going to wrap things up for today's game, which is a really impressive performance. Very, very happy with what's going on and what I've been shown on the pitch again today. You know, I thought after perhaps our draw at the start of the year against Bury, it might not be easy, but the team cohesion is certainly starting to get there. Obviously, we brought in a lot of new players. It can take time for players to gel, but the players really showing some good quality here. A good team performance as well as much as anything, which is pleasing. And that does see us move top of the table and actually 4 points ahead of 4th spot Notts County, who of course mark kind of the start of the playoff spot. So we're actually 4 points top of the table, or not 4 points top of the table, 4 points in the playoff spot. Promotion spot. And our goal difference of 12 after 9 games is really impressive, and this game has certainly helped that. So as I mentioned, I'll just show you Shibola's kind of, I guess, happiness state. There's a few players who do agree with him, but generally morale is very high in the camp. But as you can see, there are a few players, particularly players who were key for us last year, who are perhaps unhappy at the way it was handled. As you can see here, Shibola, if we just look at his information, you can see he wants to leave because we've sold Joe Robinson for £2.2 million, which I can understand to an extent because he is a Premier League quality player, but at the end of the day, he was not playing first team football last year in the Vanarama Conference. He wasn't going to play much this year. He's asked to leave. He's an inconsistent performer. He would be a good player for most League One sides, but I don't want to have an unhappy player in the club, so I have been trying to sell him. His contract does run out at the end of the year, and another kind of reason I want to get rid of him really is because, I can't show you now, but at the start of the year when the club turned professional, I was looking to approach all the part-time players and put them on full-time contracts, and Shibola wanted like a very large wage that wasn't warranted, and I basically told him, no chance, son. And told him to piss off because it just wasn't going to happen. You can see, actually, looking at the contracts, the majority of the ones that say expired in 2019 are players on full-time deals at this point. So you can see there, the majority of our key first-team players are on full-time contracts. There's a few players who need to go onto full-time deals. I believe Craig Muller might be one of them. We can check quickly. I might be wrong here. Yeah, he's on a part-time contract, so I'm going to try and get him on a full-time contract, but he signed one right before we turned professional, so he didn't want to sign a full-time contract immediately afterwards. Donnelly, another player who I should probably try and get on a full-time contract if possible, because he is still on a part-time one, kind of as you can see there. So anyway, guys, that is going to wrap things up for today. Hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, smash the like button. And other than that, I will join you guys for, I guess, the next episode. I'm not sure when it's going to be. It might be the FA Cup first round. I guess time will tell. But yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys then.